Imagine a woman walking through a Damascus cafe in the early 1960s. Her perfume turns heads, her smile disarms soldiers, and her secrets could change the balance of power in the Middle East. She wasn't famous, she wasn't even Israeli, but her mission was one of the boldest in the history of espionage, a plan that would help Israel win future wars and shock the entire Arab world. Her target, a single man, an Iraqi fighter pilot. Her weapon, not a gun, not a poison, not a bomb, but charm, intelligence, and patience. For months, she played a dangerous game, pretending to be a wealthy European socialite moving between Beirut and Damascus, attending parties with generals and officers, always listening, always watching. Behind the champagne and the laughter, she was working for one of the most secretive intelligence agencies in the world, Mossad. And one day, she met the man who would change everything, Munir Reitva, a pilot who flew one of the Soviet Union's most advanced fighter jets, the MiG-21. What followed was a story straight out of Hollywood spy film. Love, betrayal, high-stakes deception, and a darling flight across enemy skies. But here's the twist. The world still doesn't know her name. Her identity remains locked away inside Mossad's archives. Her face erased from photos, her story buried under decades of secrecy. Tonight we're going to uncover the mysterious woman behind one of Israel's greatest intelligence victories, the spy who helped steal the sky itself. This is Operation Diamond, the secret Mossad mission that changed history. This is Denzel speaking, and welcome to the world of intrigue. The year is 1963. The Middle East is on fire. The Cold War isn't just a battle between Washington and Moscow anymore. It's spreading across the desert. The Soviet Union is flooding Arab nations with military technology, training, and weapons. Among them is the crown jewel of the Soviet Air Force, the MiG-21. It was sleek, fast, and nearly invisible on radar. It was the most advanced jet fighter in the region, and Israel had no idea how to fight it. Every Israeli pilot knew if a war broke out, those jets could rule the sky. But Mossad, Israel's secret intelligence agency, had a plan. They didn't want to destroy a MiG, they wanted to steal one. They called it Operation Diamond, a plan so daring it sounded impossible. The idea came from a simple but dangerous question. What if we could convince one of their pilots to defect and bring his jet with him? But how do you convince a man to betray his country, risk his life, and deliver one of the most protected machines in the Arab world? That's where she came in. Her real name was never revealed. Mossad only referred to her through coded messages. Some called her the lady, others called her Yuna. But in truth, her identity remains one of the agent's deepest secrets. What we know is that she was European, fluent in Arabic and French, and she had the kind of charm that could open doors in places no spy could reach. Mossad sent her under deep cover to Beirut and Damascus, posing as a wealthy socialite with connections in high society. She attended elegant parties, charity galas, embassy dinners, anywhere the Arab elite gather. But behind the smiles and small talk, she was gathering information, quietly mapping out who the pilots were, who felt loyal, and who felt left out. In the world of uniforms and pride, she was the perfect trap, sophisticated, intelligent, and completely underestimated. Then one evening, during a diplomatic event in Beirut, she met a man who would change the course of her mission, Major Munir Reitva, a skilled Iraqi pilot who flew the MiG-21. Reitva was a proud man, but beneath the surface there was pain. He was Christian in a Muslim-majority military, often treated as an outsider. His promotions were slow, his mission dangerous, and his loyalty questioned. She noticed, she listened, and that's where the operation began to take shape. Mossad handlers working through coded messages and hidden channels saw an opportunity. Reitva was the weak link, intelligent, ambitious, and quietly disillusioned. The lady's mission now had a name, a face, and a target. Over the next few months, she met Redfa repeatedly in Damascus cafes, at embassy receptions, sometimes in a quiet apartments overlooking the Mediterranean. Every encounter drew him closer, emotionally, psychologically, until one day he trusted her completely. And when the trust was complete, Mossad made the move. But how do you smuggle a Soviet jet out of Iraq without anyone noticing? That's the story we will uncover next. The daring, high-risk plan that took Mossad agents and one Iraqi pilot right to the edge of death and into the pages of history. Stay with me. Trust is the most dangerous thing a spy can buy, and Mossad purchased it slowly in small, private moments. A smile at the right time, a question that shows care, a shared joke when nobody else noticed. The woman at the center of this story did not rush. She never burst into Ratfa's life with demands. Instead, she arrived like a shadow that felt like company. She wore fine dresses. She spoke French and Arabic with ease. She listened more than she spoke, and she always knew how to make him feel important. Major Munir Redfa was a skillful pilot. He flew the MiG-21 with confidence, but at home he felt small. He was an Assyrian Christian in a military that favored others. His promotions were slow. His family's safety was fragile. In private, he complained about how he was treated. He wondered if there was a better life outside Iraq. Then private pain became Mossad's opening. The agency began to slowly feed small, careful ideas into his life. A compliment here, a word question there, gift that seemed thoughtful, not suspicious, a friendly voice across a noisy room. She did not promise him money or power. She promised him respect. She promised him a way out. But she also used the tools every top spy masters teach: patience, layered lies, and the art of making the target believe he chose his path, even though the path had been carefully prepared for him. Mossad handlers worked behind the scenes. They smuggled messages through diplomats and trusted friends. They arranged meetings where Redfa would feel safe. They brought small comfort, fruit, a cigarette brand he liked, a cassette of Western music, things that made him feel human in a place full of suspicion. Over time, Redfa started to complain openly about his life, and she listened. She told him stories about Europe. She mentioned how children there could dream freely. She hinted that Israel might offer him a new future, a new name, a safe home. These were not big promises, always small, always believable, but small promises can change a man's life. And then came the test. Mossad needed proof that he would act. They couldn't risk revealing their plan to a man who might change his mind. So they pushed slowly, a question about leaving, a story of pilots who escaped, a gentle push toward the idea of flight. He answered more openly. He admitted fear. He admitted longing. The operation wasn't only about emotion. It was careful engineering. Mossad mapped flight paths, studied airfields, and rehearsed communications. They had to ensure that if Redfa took off, he would fly to a place where Israeli jets could meet him and where technicians could secure the MiG without letting anyone else notice. Every small detail mattered: the timing of his shift, the condition of his jet, the routes out of his base. Yet nothing would have worked without the human link. The woman who could sit across from him and make loneliness feel less heavy. She was the bridge between Mossad's careful plans and the frightening courage of one pilot. Without the bridge, the rest of Operation Diamond would have been only a plan on paper. So one night, after months of secret talks, and after a plan sharpened like a blade, Redfa made his choice. He walked to his plane. He climbed into the cockpit. He switched on his instruments and prepared to fly away from everything he knew. But how does a pilot leave a country with one of the world's most watched jets? And how do handlers hide him until he's safe? This is the moment when everything grew dangerous and when history leaned forward to watch. August 16, 1966. The morning sun was already burning the horizon over Iraq. Inside an air base near Baghdad, Major Munir Redfa prepared for what everyone thought was a routine training flight. His crew did not notice anything unusual. A pilot doing his job, checking his MiG-21 before takeoff. But this time, his flight plan wasn't in the book. He wasn't heading east or north. He was going west, straight toward Israel. Redfa knew what he was doing was suicide if caught. If Iraqi radar detected his change of course, anti-aircraft missiles could be launched within seconds. If fuel ran low, he would crash in the desert. If he survived the flight, he could never return home. His name, his life, his family would vanish forever. But Mossad had promised one thing: they would protect his family first. Before Redfa ever took off, Israeli agents had already smuggled his wife and children out of Iraq using false papers and secret routes through Europe. Only when Mossad confirmed they were safe did they send the message: "It's time." As Redfa climbed to a high altitude, he switched off his radio to avoid detection. He flew low across Jordanian airspace, skimming the border, then made a sudden dive toward the Mediterranean. Within minutes, Israeli radar picked him up. For a moment, Israeli commanders thought it was an attack. They scrambled two Mirage fighters to intercept. The pilots were ordered, "Do not fire until confirmed hostile." Then over the radio came a coded signal, a phrase agreed upon weeks earlier. It was Redfa, he was alive. The Mirage formed up beside him and guided him safely to Hadzor Air Base in central Israel. When Redfa stepped out of the MiG, Mossad officers rushed to meet him. They shook his hand, but the moment was quiet, almost unreal. The most advanced Soviet jet in the Middle East now stood inside an Israeli hangar. And the unnamed woman who made it possible disappeared. Her mission was finished, her name erased, her face never shown again. Within days, American intelligence teams arrived. The MiG-21 was secretly flown to a testing facility where Israeli and US pilots studied every inch of it: the radar, the weapons, and the weaknesses. Those lessons changed air combat forever. Less than a year later, during 1967 Six-Day War, Israeli pilots used the knowledge to dominate the skies, shooting down enemy MiGs with near-perfect precision. The information gathered from Operation Diamond gave Israel and the West a massive strategic advantage of 4 decades. As for Redfa, he lived under protection in Israel for the rest of his life, carrying the weight of his decision. His family was safe, but his name could never return home. And the woman who made it happen, the mysterious Mossad spy who charmed her way into the most guarded circles of the Arab world, was never seen again. No medals, no recognition, not even a name. Just whispers inside Mossad headquarters that without her, Operation Diamond would never have taken off. And we have to know that sometimes the most powerful weapon in a war isn't a fighter jet. It's a single conversation whispered by someone who was never supposed to be there. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe, because next time we will uncover another Mossad mission where a woman's charm, courage, and deception change history in ways that the world never knew.